Morning, John here. I want to introduce you to my friend Blake Grewal. It's been amazing and very fun to get to know Blake professionally. He did help me with some of the experience situations and timelines at my own firm, which I'm now starting to implement. Thanks, Blake. But I think one of the coolest things about him is that he is very smart and he learns very quickly. And so he's very innovative and very insightful and frankly, very fun to talk to. I loved the conversation and I can't wait until we do it again sometime. We did kind of connect on food initially, so if you enjoy that, great. But I think it just goes to show that he's a normal, regular person and that he does have good opinions, and many of which I agree with on food. But what I would also say is look at how innovative he is and how he's bringing something new to every area that he's a part of. I love it. I support what he's doing, and I really try to learn from him because he is paying attention. He's someone that will go and study what companies are doing, what's working, what's not working, and then provide a solution based on data collection. And I love that about him. He's always learning, always growing, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you enjoy it too. Here's Blake Grewal.
Okay, Blake, here's
Yes.
here's who I respect in the area for chicken shawarma. Okay.
Okay.
Now I got to think about this because this is might be a controversial opinion. I don't know.
Especially after your thoughts on Pete Away, but we should save that for a different time. That could be an entire podcast.
I respect Pete Away. Here's why. I'll repeat this. I before we hit record, I was saying I respect Pete Away. Here's why. Because they don't call their shawarma. They call it dark chicken or dark meat chicken. It's like light chicken is like the chicken breast, right? And dark chicken is the chicken thighs that are cut up, right? I respect that because they know it's not shawarma. They recognize it's not real shawarma. Okay. I respect that. Now, do I like their hummus? Not the greatest. Do I like their garlic sauce? I just love all garlic sauce, but it's not my favorite garlic sauce. Okay. What else? Another thing about Pita Way, I love their pickle variety, the pickled cabbage, pickled cucumbers. What else do they have? The pickled turnips. I respect that.
That's an offering. That is an offering I could get behind. Different variety with the pickle. That's
right?
Good.
The pickled cabbage with the turmeric. Solid. Yeah. Okay. Now, what shawarma? Okay, I want to hear your take too. I'll give you my take.
Yeah. Okay.
Shawarma. Okay. To me, like thinking through, favorite shawarma is probably Sultan's downtown Lansing.
I was going to say Sultan's. So I think Sultan's, in my opinion, is probably the highest quality in the area.
Best shawarma. Chicken shawarma or just all shawarma? Yeah.
I'll say chicken shawarma. What I also enjoy too is Woody's on Trowbridge and East Lansing as well. I've just gone there for so long. So I do enjoy them, but I found that Sultan's, it just seems like the quality is a little bit better.
And it's real shawarma. That's what I would say. Yeah. It's real shawarma. Let's talk about Woody's for a second. I love Woody's. I grew up. I remember when Woody's opened and actually Woody ran it and worked there. Okay.
The Woody. That's okay.
Woody.
That's crazy.
Okay. Because my middle name is Woodia, which can be like the English version is kind of like Woody. So it's like a namesake for me. It's a deep connection. Okay. And I'm just going to say, it's bothered me a little bit about Woody. Let me start with what I like about Woody's before I start complaining.
Before you go so negative, let's start with the good.
The hummus at Woody's is fantastic. It's better than my family's hummus. I'm just going to say,
oh, wow.
I think it's better. Woody's hummus. That's why I don't make hummus. Because I'm like, I'll just go to Woody's. Wow. I like it better. Okay. What else? I like their kefta. Love their kefta. If I go there, my favorite dish is probably kefta salad. But because they give you a little 2-ounce container of hummus with it. Even though I like their hummus, I sub tahini sauce. And then I dip the kefta in the tahini sauce and I eat the salad and it's incredible. Okay. So that's what I love about Woody's. Now let me say, they don't have real shawarma, but they call it shawarma, which it's like a deep kind of thing for me. And
this is a deep rooted
thing. Yeah. And if they ever get mad at me, if anyone ever hears this, no one will probably ever hear it. But if
we need to call out Mediterranean restaurants after this podcast and just let them know.
I respect Pete Away. I respect that they don't call it shawarma. because it's not shawarma. Maybe it is real shawarma. Okay, so I said my idiosyncrasies about Middle Eastern food. Tell me your thoughts. You can respond to what I said or just add something to it.
Yeah, I would say so. I'll go back to Sultan's. I feel like every time I've ate at Sultan's, the chicken that I'm getting feels higher quality. And on top of that, I do agree with your opinion on Woody's hummus, and I also like that Woody's gives you a ton of hummus, probably even too much at times.
Massive,
But
massive.
they give it to you. So I would say if I had to pick between Woody's and Sultan's, if I were to go with a just like we'll call it chicken shawarma platter, I'm going to Sultan's. If I'm going with just shawarma, actual like sandwich, probably going to Woody's.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And me, out of principle, I would never order chicken shawarma at Woody's. Just out of principle. I'll just go, give me chicken kebabs, because I like their kebabs. Give me kefta, because their kefta solid, like kefta sandwich, super solid. Yeah. All right, so now that we've given our strong
solve the world's Mediterranean restaurant problem. Why are we here again?
So, okay, let's do the intro. So this is John Mashney, The Intense Life with John Mashney, here with my friend Blake. Blake, it'd be super cool. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you had an interesting professional career, and then I want to talk through some of the things you helped me with and that you're working on, and it'd be super fun to dig into it. And we could talk about Indian food too if you want. Love butter chicken. And but give people a quick intro, like who you are, why you like Middle Eastern food so much, and anything else you want to add.
Important topics, yeah. I know what I'm getting for lunch today, by the way, for sure. So I let's see. I call myself a business builder and health and wellness nerd. Those are really, I mean, if I were to dive into it, it's I really enjoy building businesses, helping others build businesses, and have always enjoyed health and wellness. Played sports throughout high school, college, I played lacrosse, and I've always made health and wellness a pillar of my lifestyle. But on the business side, I grew up in a family where everyone owned a small business of some sort. So not only in the family, but also our network of friends, it seemed like everybody owned small businesses. So I was just constantly around it. And I think growing up in that environment it changed my mindset and thinking and really just made me into a person that enjoys building things and solving problems, which we can talk about as both being entrepreneurs. I think it's a pro and a con having the entrepreneurial bug, because you see a problem and you immediately want to solve it, right? So focus can be a little bit tough.
True fact.
But growing up in that environment, again, just have really always enjoyed building things, solving problems, and being around small businesses. Over time, that led me into the business that I have today, which is Customer IQ. And John, we can dive into more about what we did specifically with you. But right now, what we do at Customer IQ is actually work specifically with economic development groups and help them build frictionless business engagement journeys. And what that means in a simple form is we just help them with our business engagement tool engage more businesses and support them with personalized experiences without the headache of doing that and overhead. So we're really focused on right from the beginning, engaging the business in the right way, matchmaking them with the programs and services that make the most sense, because that can be a very, very tough point in the economic development world where they're trying to offer all these programs and services to businesses, but it can be very hard to engage those businesses and start them off on the right foot. So I've seen that as a core problem that I'm really focused on solving in that world. And how I got there was the last few years, just through happenstance, have worked with a ton of economic development organizations and helped them build programs and services for entrepreneurs in their community. And over that time, if I look back on it, I've had the opportunity to work with over 100 entrepreneurs, help them get access to right around $1 million in revenue and funding through those programs and services. So back to the entrepreneurial mindset. Over these last few years, I've had all these different things going on, and I had this epiphany a couple weeks ago. I'm like, why am I not focusing on the thing that's working? And it was my work with economic development groups. I'm like, I've done some great work in there. I see this core problem. Let's cut all the other crap and dive all in and focus on this. But I will say, John, if your audience is a service-based business, especially, or any business in general, what we're going to talk about today, especially with what the work that we did with you, can help any business. With that being the focus of building better customer experiences in your business, making them frictionless, and also becoming a more tech-enabled service-based business. So
That's great.
stop there. Yeah.
No, there's two things I want to cover and dig deeper into, because I think one reason why I was excited to work with you was two main things you said, which was one, without creating all this extra cost. Like, that is a key point, because I think a lot of times when I've been around business owners and been in businesses, everyone has a solution. And one of the solutions is, well, let's just hire somebody, or just
Yeah.
take somebody's, make a full-time job of this is their job, your customer engagement or your onboarding, and it's like you pay a full person's salary to solve a problem, when before you actually do the hard part, which is like you're hiring someone to do the hard part. You're saying like, oh, I don't want to actually do the thinking in the hard part. I just want to hire them. It's like, no, I feel like that's backwards. Like, it's like, oh, let's write the check and then figure out how we're going to solve it. So it's like, it's like, how do we do it first by solving it and then write the check? Because when you solve it first, it's cheaper, right?
Yep.
And then it leads to the second thing I wanted to say, which I want to talk through with you, is the tech savvy part. Because I think a lot of people are, they hear about AI, they hear about technology, but it's like, the key to me isn't like, hey, go to ChatGPT and like ask it questions. The key is like, how do you understand how to use the technology to solve the problems that you're having right now without adding all this extra cost? And I think that's the part that where I'm just like, we should talk about this, right? Like, let's talk through some of this.
Yeah.
So
Well,
tell me, go dive in, because I feel like those are the two things that I think are really key.
Yeah, I can. Let's dive into the tech-enabled service side. I'm very big on this topic right now, and going to continue to be, because I think we're at a point in time where businesses are able to do so much more with less. And I also think this favors being a small business in the future, because when you're able to do more with less, you're actually able to focus more on your customers and provide a better customer experience to them. It's able to be more personalized, which people enjoy. You're able to deliver more value, quick wins to them through the help of technology. So it's more of a human-powered, tech-assisted experience that you're able to offer now, which is great. Compared to right now, what I'm seeing in the market is you have these larger corporations that are kind of stuck right now, because if they want to be more of a tech-enabled business, do more with less, guess what? They have to fire 10, 20% of their workforce, and everyone's going to find out about that, right? So they're at this point in time, we're at this weird inflection point where they know that they probably should trim, they're probably bloated, but they're kind of stuck. So they're moving slower. So I think being a small tech-enabled service is super advantageous. And we didn't even talk about, one's the added expense, but the added stress that puts on a business owner with different overhead, different expenses, etc. It's stressful. And I think I've seen time and time again, it puts businesses at a point that they actually don't need to be at. And it's kind of self-inflicted pain, right?
It is self-inflicted. It is.
Yeah.
Blake, from my experience, and again, I think, like, I'll just say, I worked for 10 years before I went to law school. I remember coming into a meeting because I was trying to get us to move to, this was in early, mid 2000s. Okay. So 20 plus years ago. I remember coming into a meeting and I was trying to get the company to change their packaging. Okay. And so I tried so hard. I was like, we gotta change. Okay. And they were like, no, we got the system, we got the pricing. And I was like, so I had this thought: how do I get someone to change if they're consciously making a choice to do something that's more expensive, that's not as cool, that is 20 years behind? And I was like, and I tried and I argued and I had meetings. So finally I said, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I went to my parents' basement. I was not living at home, but I went to my parents' basement. Okay. And I pulled out old VHS tapes, okay, of movies that were, I don't remember the exact movies, but let's just give you some of the in proximity. The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston, okay. Some 80s Disney movie, let's just call it, Snow White or something. And then I think I had one more, right? And do you remember these old packaging, plastic packaging that you had to like pull it apart. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
old
yeah. Yeah.
school plastic
Yes.
packaging.
Yep.
And I brought them into the office and I said, guys, I think we should change our packaging, but I'm not going to convince you. Here's my only argument. And I put 10 Commandments. I put Bambi or whatever it was. I put another one. And then I had the company packaging. And they all looked the same. Okay. They were all the same.
Yeah.
Okay. And I looked at the packaging. I was like, this movie came out in like 19 whatever 60. Okay. This movie came out in the 80s. This movie came out in 1995. This is our packaging present day. Okay. Can you even tell the difference? If I took if I took the labels out, could you even tell the difference? And then I pulled out, this is the dating, an iPod, not iPad or whatever, iPod packaging. And it was just like completely different. And I didn't have to say anything. They were like, we got to change. Because they're locked in this paradigm of like, we got to do what's the cheapest. We got to do and it's like, again, it just reminds me of why it's so difficult to change sometimes is we don't have someone coming in and making this dramatic presentation about how do we do something better and different. So I don't know, do you face that or do you feel that?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good point. I made a post on this about this specific topic on LinkedIn the other day. We're at a point in time where our society as a whole is so much more visual than we used to be. And I'll dive into what I mean by that. We, especially when we get pitched things now, if someone's just talking or delivering a presentation or a long email, we're not going to look at it. And I think what's cool now about the different tech that's out there, specifically different AI tools, you're actually able to show people now the value that you can provide in a visual setting versus emailing them saying, hey, John, my business does X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. You can actually go and create some different interactive content, quizzes, etc., that can be sent to your customers to deliver what I call moments of insight to them, to then engage them effectively and say, wow, I need to talk to John. It makes the sales process a lot easier. So when you said that story, it made me think that all these tools that are out there now are able to deliver those moments of insight in a quicker way. You had to go home to your parents' basement, corral all these VHS tapes.
It was like 2005 or whatever it was. Yeah.
Now you can use different AI tools and prompt it with a few things, and again, create something that's effective and interactive, and can be shipped off to someone and say, "Here's exactly what I'm talking about. Let me know your thoughts and the insights that you get from it."
Yeah, let's talk through some examples because I think that'd be really cool. Yeah. Like even with me, I did client onboarding, which I'm still actually in the process of implementing, right?
Yeah.
But I actually sent the what we create, like the flow chart that you and I created. Yeah. I sent that to someone and I was like, this is what we got to implement to just give them the big picture, right? But I think was really interesting when working with you is we had a lot of similar ideas, but you definitely kind of added like, hey, how can we make this a moment of insight, like you said, where someone actually is excited to work with you, right? Yeah. Where it's like, and how would you define even this moment of insight? What would you say? What is that?
Yeah, I can give you some examples. So we've created tons of calculators, quizzes, interactive content that people can go through on their own time and get these, what we're calling moments of insight. So an example of this, we had a referral revenue calculator where businesses could put in different customer experience metrics and find out how much referral revenue they're missing out on in their business. Once they get that answer, which can be pretty jarring at times, it would then guide them to contact us to find out more about our services, what we do, etc. Furthermore, the business engagement tool that we offer now to economic development groups, it delivers a similar moment of insight to businesses in their community by giving them different prompts and walking them through this journey that then delivers personalized insights based on their responses. Plus, hey, here's the programs and services that are best fit for your current situation. And then it guides them to contact and take that next step with that economic development group. I think these moments of insight really just increase engagement. They make it a frictionless experience. How many times have you worked with a service-based business and you go to purchase a service, you get to onboarding and you hear crickets, right? And the momentum just dies.
I'm cringing, Blake, because I feel like it's happened to me, right? Like someone, engages. Yes. And I think one of the reasons why I'm passionate, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm passionate about this is I had a friend reach out to me years ago and wanted to hire me, and we dropped the ball.
Yeah.
We dropped the ball, and I'll take responsibility for it. I asked my assistant to create an engagement letter, and it just slipped. And I
Yeah.
didn't have a follow up mechanism. And so we didn't end up sending it for like weeks. So I was waiting to follow up with him until he sent back the engagement letter, and it never went out. And I
Yeah.
lost that. I actually lost not just the client, but the friendship too.
Yeah.
And it still crushes me to this day. So
Yeah.
that's why I think it's so important to have not just what you're saying, the moment of insight where they're getting value, but just like a process that you can follow, right?
Keeping it going and making it frictionless. I mean, look, we're in a point in time. Think about Amazon, Grubhub, Uber, even social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. We're getting such quick wins from these platforms and businesses that these are now translating to when I work with a law firm, when I work with an accounting firm, I want that same experience. And it's not going away, right? It's only going to get worse. But it also presents an opportunity for a business to become more tech enabled, to build better customer experiences, and use that as a huge differentiator. Because not many people, and you know this, John, not many people are actually going to focus on the customer experience. They're more focused on what I call this growth at all cost problem, which is we need to just continue growing. And what I find, if you're in that mindset, is your customer experience starts to decline at some point in time if you have that mindset. And then month over month, you're at the same place where you're just scraping the bottom of the barrel for more leads, and you're not focused on your actual customers.
It's Blake, it's so true. And I think that especially that growth at all cost mindset, I think people miss. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I was at my cousin's high school graduation,
Okay.
and I was thinking of like, what advice do you give someone? Part of it, it's not everything, but it's like do good work and be a good person.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times that's like the foundation to grow. But sometimes people miss that, and they're like, no, we need to not focus on. And when I say good work, I think it's linked to like just making sure you don't drop the ball and making sure you're focused on
Yeah.
adding value. But like we think that it's like, oh, I just have to grow because I have to grow because I have a team and I have to keep them working and I have to keep the pipeline growing. And I'm not.
This goes back, John, to the self-inflicted pain though, right? Of just hiring to hire. And like, I'm not against hiring. I'm not saying that, oh, you should run a one-person team now backed by
Oh
AI,
yeah,
etc.
gotta have a team. Gotta have a team.
Yeah, there's a benefit to that for sure. But I do see a lot of overhiring. I saw it in my own family's businesses where there was tons of pain caused because expenses were so high, overhead was so high, and you looked at the actual productivity of the team and it just didn't match up.
Yeah, I think, gosh, it's such a yeah. Yes, and I think too, overhead is what kills. I come from law firm space, and I think about that's one of the things that kills law firms is
Yeah.
you can't retain talent because you can't pay the talent what they can go make outside of you, and you can't pay them because you're spending money in places that don't add value to them or to the client, and it's adding value to other people. And it's really an overhead problem, an overhead allocation problem, and the market fixes it by people leaving. Sad to say,
Yeah.
but that's how it gets fixed.
I mean, specifically in the law firm space, which I've been around because my dad owns a law firm, I've seen a lot of, especially personal injury and medical malpractice firms die because of this growth at all cost problem where they're constantly shelling money out for advertisements, marketing spend, etc. But they're not focused on their client experience, right? So they end up actually losing people when they do decide to contact them and get onboarded. And then there ends up being no return on that marketing spend. And then you're just sitting there holding the bag with a huge team, right? And no sales coming in. So it's not a good spot to be in.
It's crushing me, Blake. I'm almost like, we got to end this early. I got to fix my onboarding. No, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel some pressure right now. I need 30 more days. Give me 30 more days. We'll do another podcast.
Right. What I'll say about why I think onboarding is so important is because there's touch points before that with a potential customer, but that onboarding experience is when someone has officially decided to work with you, right? They have signed, they're ready to engage with you. And it's so important at that phase to keep that momentum going. And what I'll end with on this onboarding rant is we usually only remember the really good experiences and the really bad experiences, right? So If you're in business and you're just providing a very average experience, people probably aren't going to come back and do business with you. It's just going to be average. They're not really going to remember it. They're not going to want to talk about it, etc. But on the other end, if you're providing a really bad experience, they will talk about that and it will be bad for your business.
Gosh.
But then on the flip side, if they're providing a really good experience, that's amazing. They'll rave about you.
You know, I'm so glad you're saying this because it's perfect for me. I just went through a transition and I'm trying to build
Yeah.
the processes that are important to me. And truly, onboarding is one that I haven't implemented yet. I worked with you. We created an idea, the concepts, but I haven't actually put it into practice yet. I think there's some of it, like the foundation is laid, but now it's like giving me this urgency. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta make this better. One other area too. I'm curious what your thoughts are here. That where
Yeah.
people neglect is actually a payment process. Like I think, when sometimes you ever go to like pay a bill and you think, why is it so hard to pay the bill? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Don't get me started on
Wait,
this.
did I trigger a nerve or what? Would tell me what?
Oh my God. So I've done work with home service businesses in the past, and that is a huge market, deals with a ton of customer experience pain, where customer experiences are the most important for that space because it's so competitive, right? And I have been so surprised when I engage with a home service business, and me being the customer experience nerd, I'm like walking through their entire process, right? As I work with them as a customer.
Yeah.
So many times you get to the payment spot and you don't know how to pay. And I'm like, you guys complain about having cash flow problems, but you aren't making it easy for someone to pay you. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
I'm just like, this could, like, it's crazy. We're in a digital world. I'm like, I could pay via text, email, anything right now. I could get you paid today, but then it ends up delaying it 30 days.
Looking for payment, looking for a way to pay, or like, don't make me write a check, right? Like,
No,
I feel like it's like
checks. Let's just stop. Let's stop that.
no, I still have people that write me checks, so I have to
Yeah.
have a cash flow a plan to get accept checks.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it sounds like you've had this same problem, and even when I think about, gosh, I hope I'm good at it. Probably got to think through how can I improve. But I always would joke. I was like, "Do you guys take money? Like, I just want to know. Like, do you take money? Like, it's like, do you accept money? Because it's like, if I want to pay, I just want to be able to pay like ASAP, right?
Yeah. Well, here's something that I think you'll find interesting that I've seen in recent times. When I'm looking at a business's touch points throughout their customer journey, what I find most often is, let's say people complain about not getting paid on time, or let's focus on that. What I find though is, hey, let's look at the content that you're sending out to these people to get payment. And what you find is usually the pay now link, if they are doing that, is buried in a huge email that has multi-step flows or processes, whatever you want to call it, for the customer to follow, versus just saying, hey, here's the one-time email that you can follow up on, just focus on payment. I think a lot of businesses send too much content throughout the touch points, and it actually makes it pretty confusing. I see this, we'll go back on onboarding. When somebody gets onboarded, let's say they're getting onboarded at your law firm, and you're requesting more information from them to better help them with their case, etc. I find that in that realm, sometimes there's too much asked of the client, and we just want to focus on one simple thing at a time. And again, on the topic of momentum, if you focus on one simple thing, it can help continue to build that momentum.
Yeah.
Versus sending a huge email requesting all this information, it's not going to get finished in time, and that's going to delay outcomes for both sides. So I had a similar experience with a roofing company that I recently worked with, in that we got onboarded, which everything was decent in the onboarding process, but they sent me this lengthy email that I didn't know had like the hidden actions that I needed to take as far as next steps
wasn't
go.
Clear.
And it just sat there. And that delayed the project, not to mention also delayed payment to the roofing company. It actually started to put a bad taste in my mouth about the experience. So I think it's super important to be clear, simple, and just make this content super actionable. And it goes back to, again, we're so used to quick wins. We're so used to short, quick things now. If you send a lengthy email, it's probably not going to get read.
Gosh, that's a good reminder. You're making me think through all the things I'm working on right now for onboarding.
It's a huge advantage to work on this stuff. I'm not even just tooting my own horn about this. I really do see businesses benefit from this. And I think as a business owner, it's so easy to get caught up in the day to day and not think about focusing on this stuff. The stuff that we're talking about today is not complicated stuff, right? But I think I find that a lot of people just don't focus on it. They're more focused on marketing spend or running fancy marketing campaigns, right? Or doing more sales activities versus looking internal and saying, well, how does our experience look? Like if I were a customer, would I want to work with me?
Yeah, gosh, that's good. That's good. What do you think the balance is between technology and human touch?
Yeah. It's going to be a constant experiment, especially as I think, AI continues to evolve and more tech tools come out there. I've seen some businesses absolutely crush it being fully automated, but I will caveat that with, I think it's very rare to be a fully automated business.
Like 100%.
I think right now, the trap that people are falling into is that they think they can be a fully automated business and sit on a beach somewhere and make unlimited money. But what I'm seeing, where they're dropping the ball and missing out on, is people actually crave that human connection. People crave talking to a human. They want quick help. So that's where automations can come in, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think throughout the full experience, they do crave knowing that they can contact John or contact Blake. I personally think having this human powered but tech assisted experience for my business specifically has allowed me to win more business than others because people know that they can call or email me or text me at any time. Is that the most scalable? Probably not. But with a small team, it's fine,
Yeah. Yeah. I think
So,
I like the human powered tech enabled quite a bit. You should trademark that. So just
yeah.
throwing that out there.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll talk to you more about that.
Reach out. Yeah. Reach out if you want to do some searches on it. What do you think too, like even like the ability, like scalability, right? I think one of the things you think about, particularly with a service-based business, but doesn't have to be, but a lot of times you want the onboarding process to be able to scale. But if you incorporate those human touches, I think people, myself included, you think about, oh, how can I scale that? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on your goals and where you want to go. And what I mean by that is I think some people focus way too much on scale, especially in the beginning. And I think it's super important to do the unscalable things. I did not make that up. Some other smart people have said that before. But I do really see the importance of that because you are able to really be on an advantage compared to competitors if you are providing this human powered experience, because again, people enjoy that connection. Is it scalable to continue to have so many touch points that are human powered throughout your customer experience? Probably not. But I said earlier, it relates to your goals, because if you're okay with running a smaller business, maybe you really enjoy working and being in the weeds, and you're not doing so much that you're going to burn yourself out, that's fine. But if you're looking to build a medium to larger size business and you're looking to add more people, add more customers, then hell yeah. I mean, you have to focus on scalability and putting some automations in place. So that's why I really think it relates to your goals, how big you want the business to be. Because as you get the business bigger, I think what people lose sight on is with a bigger business, yes, there's going to be more overhead, but that also means you're taking on more customers, right? And those customers are all going to want a similar, if not exceptional, experience when they work with you. So to provide that human powered experience, you're going to need to add more people, right? And that's going to cause more stress, more expenses, et cetera. So it's really a balancing game of what your goals are.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting to think through for me. Like, here's an example I thought that I found very fascinating. It was in a group, and they were talking about actually running a podcast, and they were saying, how do you book guests? Right. I realized you and I had an email exchange. We're scheduling this podcast, but they said they get way better success or better results when scheduling guests when, like, they could have an automated email that goes out that leads to like a calendar link where there's set times, but they tried that and it actually ordered to get guests to book themselves. But when they sent an email where someone said which of these two times works better, they actually got, it was like way higher percentage of people that would then book from that email. So I thought that was very fascinating to me, just from that slight personalization where you almost like force someone to look at two different options versus like, here's all the times that are available. So that would, to me, it's like that slight little tweak to the human touch actually saved all this time and really enabled the process way better.
Yeah, and see if you're a small business and working with less customers compared to a larger business, you can take the time to do that. Versus if you're a larger business, you're hiring tons and tons of customer support reps that are handling tons of inquiries, right? Or customer success teams, whatever you want to call that role. They can't be as personalized because there's so much happening in the business versus a small business. And not saying it's easier to run a small business, but you are working with less customers, so you can be a little more personalized. And that's where I mentioned earlier, I think it's a huge advantage to be a smaller tech-enabled business because I can just see you doing so much now with less overhead, but also providing more personalization as well.
Yeah. Even reminds me, I won't mention the company, but a very large company that probably a lot of people would have heard of that's like in the leadership entrepreneurial space. Years ago, I signed up, which I probably will sign up with them at some point. Okay. But years ago, I kind of like talked to a rep and he said, what's the best way to get a hold of you? And I was like, email 1,000%. Don't call me. It will be almost impossible to get in touch with me if you call me.
Yeah.
And I still get calls from them. So I wonder, like, was that ever captured? And I love this company, so I don't want to, call them out. I'm not going to say the name publicly, but I get tons of calls and they leave me voicemails. And then when they send me an email, I always respond. I'm like, thank you, or, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like when I get a voicemail, I'm just like, guys, I told you like, early. They almost need like a follow-up to be like, do you, because I don't want them to think I'm ignoring their calls. But I'm also like, this is not on my priority list to call them back, right? So anyway, it just reminds me of that.
Well, it's when you're in that constant cycle of just focusing on growth and scale, you start to, I feel like you miss out on those opportunities for feedback, right? You're just focused on the next lead, right? They're probably trying to call 100 Johns every day, right? Yeah. They're not able to take a step back because they're on this hamster wheel and focus on, well, John's actually replying to us via email. He's not answering our calls. Maybe I should stop calling John.
Yeah. And just should stop calling. Yeah. So. I will happily respond to an email because I can do it in like 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And call is just like, I have very limited time where I can call people back. And then it's like, I got to call clients back or there's something urgent or my, wife or kids or mom or whatever. It's like, this is way down the list. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting.
I'm curious from your perspective in the legal world. There's so many AI tools being built now. And I can imagine clients' preferences are changing and how they engage with you, things like that. I think, Clio's a platform that we've talked about at length. I think they're doing some cool things to help the client experience. But curious, like how are you seeing the legal world get shaped now? Are clients preferring to work with smaller firms? Do they not care? Like, what are you seeing in the space?
Yeah. So wow, it's a great question. My immediate thought is it really depends on the type of client. So I think the space that I'm in, I'm very often dealing with entrepreneurs, business owners. I'm their outside general counsel in many cases. And so I'm like the trusted advisor. So I think there does need to be this accessibility to me, right? Sometimes I can't get around it because of the urgency and the importance of some of the legal issues that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
However, the way I think about it is, a lot of times they get my cell phone number or they get direct access to me or they get priority with like, hey, they called me, I'll call them back on a night or a weekend, right? Just because of that relationship. And frankly, it's like, that's the level of service I want to deliver.
Yeah.
Where I see opportunity is in the touch points when you're going back to your idea, like the moments of insight and those touch points. What are the ones that aren't the actual legal service, but we need to have these touch points because we're in a business relationship, right? So those are the things where I'm like, oh, a lot of automation and tech savvy could really be implemented in those points. And then when I think of the legal tools, gosh, I'm trying so many things myself. I'm experimenting with AI.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times I know when people send me an AI contract, they're like, what'd you use? Like ChatGPT,
Yeah.
Claude, Grok, what did you use? Right. Cause it's like, and I almost can like learn what each AI's output looks like. You
Yeah.
kind of know,
That's it.
you're like, okay, this looks like ChatGPT. Right. But I'm using my own, right? I'm using different versions. I'm testing stuff out. I'm looking at legal specific ones, and learning like how to use it. So I'm really in this experimental phase myself. What's important? I'm really trying to think about how can I add value and use AI or some of the technology in tandem, like not hide it behind the curtain of here's what we do and it just looks like magic. I'm trying to think about how do I use it in tandem with the client so that, yeah, I know they use AI, they know I use AI, but how do we use it together? That's probably the more interesting question for me personally, because I know that they're going to use it. Like a lot of times people would say, I already ran this through AI. I just got an email yesterday. I already ran this through AI. Here's the issues. And then AI, at the bottom says, consult with your attorney.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting the follow-up from like a Claude or a Chat GPT. And I think it's interesting to me because it doesn't solve everything. But even I would use AI, like a lot of times, summarize these emails. It's like, it's very useful, but I still got to go back and double check, make sure
Yeah.
it's right. So I think like to me, I'm really in a very experimental mode myself.
Yeah.
And I'm also in a mode of I'm wary. Like I'm trying to learn how are other people using it instead of calling me, because sometimes when they call me, there's a price tag attached.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one interesting thing you just mentioned was you're looking at the touch points outside of the business relationship. And that reminds me of something I'm sure you've seen, I see way too often, is that people can get very robotic in these touch points. Especially, I see it all the time. People are like, we have our proven process down, or we have our customer journey map built out. When you look at those touch points in the process map, or whatever you want to call it, you start to see this kind of robotic nature, right? Customer does this, they get this email now. They do this, they get this next stage.
Yeah.
It's, you just again hit on a great point. It's very important to humanize the relationship and think outside the business type. Like, what can you do to provide value? It can be as simple as remembering on a conversation that they said it's their kid's birthday, right? And you send them a birthday card or birthday gift, whatever. I've seen that stuff go such a long way, actually more than the kind of business relationship, right? I've seen that stuff actually get more noticed by clients or customers, and they stick around for a long time.
That's all. I love it. So I know we're kind of running short on time here. Let me ask you this question, because I just had this idea based on the start of our conversation talking about shawarma.
Interesting. Can't wait to hear.
I know. Yeah. So welcome to how John's brain works.
Yeah.
So I really think it'd be amazing. Moment of what'd you say? Moment of insight. Moment of insight. I think it'd be amazing if someone signs up, I'm their lawyer, or even just any professional relationship. Maybe people that appear on the podcast. Maybe that's what it is. So after like a week or a month or something, I send them a gift certificate to the closest shawarma restaurant to them.
And that's your thing.
And so, honestly, yeah, wouldn't that be fun? Would you be pumped? I don't know. Maybe not everyone likes shawarma. But you could like anticipate that and say, like, if you don't like shawarma, we can't be friends, or we it's going to change the relationship, though. Something like that. But it's more like you don't eat garlic, or you don't eat meat, or vegetarian. I don't know. But like, he's like, give this to somebody else, that. So it's like going back to the food. I'm going back to the food full circle. What do you think?
No, it's something that I personally, if I was engaged with you as a client, I would remember that versus all the other stuff that happens during my case, right? Or whatever you're working on for me.
Yeah.
And it's just how I would remember that, because it's something so simple, but it's different than what we're getting on a day-to-day basis. Again, I think a lot of businesses are super robotic. You can kind of know exactly what to expect when you engage with people nowadays. And just super small stuff like that is so important. And the reason my brain is wired to that is way back when I used to work at a wealth management firm. And the owner of the firm, who I still consider a mentor of mine, was always very focused on that stuff. And I actually saw it result in us getting more money from clients over time because they didn't want to go anywhere else. They were more they were more pumped up about the experience we were offering outside the money management stuff, because the money management stuff is kind of boring, right? Nobody they cared about it, yes, but when they knew that we'd get them tickets to a sporting event, or we'd remember that it was, again, their kid's birthday or something like that, they were more willing to stick around longer, and actually made their whole relationship a lot better.
That's awesome. All right. I know we're winding down on time. Two more quick questions. One, you said your wedding's coming up. You're going to have Indian type party. Is there going to be Indian food, and what's your favorite Indian food? Tell me right now.
Yes. So there will 100% be Indian food. I usually go chicken tikka masala. I also love vegetable pakora on the side, and then samosas.
Oh, samosas, so good.
And I'll dabble in different types of samosas, because there's all sorts of them. But yeah, I've really enjoyed vegetable pakora a lot with my chicken tikka masala meal that I get. Have you been to Percy's in Okemos?
No. Do I need to go?
Yeah, we're shouting out a ton of restaurants on that. But yes, go to Percy's in Okemos. That I would say is my family loves Percy's. So
butter chicken, overrated or underrated?
Butter chicken seems like it's just everyone's go-to.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
I won't say it's underrated. It's fantastic, depending on where you go.
Well rated,
but it's yes. Well, it's everyone's go-to though. Everyone says I love butter chicken.
Which, true. All right, that's why I asked. I mean, I like butter chicken. I made butter chicken. My wife literally said, "Never make this again," because the turmeric stained my socks, because like some fell on the ground. And so now I have these white socks that have like these turmeric stains on them, and I actually love it. It makes me hungry when I put them on. Oddly, I know. All right, Blake, super cool to chat with you. What's the best way if someone wanted to reach out? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I would say follow me on LinkedIn. Very active on there. And my LinkedIn will lead to, I have a newsletter that I write, as well as other content, but LinkedIn's kind of the hub for everything.
Yeah, and I'll say just a second what you said. I do think you're putting out good content, but you're also kind of in this space really championing kind of customer experience in a lot of different places, even though you're focusing on a narrower kind of customer base for yourself and your business. But I think it's really insightful for a lot of people, and the reminders are great. And I feel like it's like on the journey, you're really sharing some things that are working like real time. I think it's a great. You're a great person to follow.
No, I appreciate that. I'm trying to put out more, just documenting and sharing, building my business, because I think that's helpful for people as well. So getting better at it.
Love it. All right, Blake, really fun to chat. Thank you for the food digressions too. Made me hungry, but also very fun. This is John Mashing with The Intense Life. Blake, thanks for joining.
Thanks, John.